In my entire life, the most draconian, most outrageous legislation ever to come before the New Zealand Parliament is the Natural Health Products Bill. It stands to trample over some of your most basic freedoms. Let me explain what's going on by way of an example. Here is a bottle of Artemisia annua. This is a herbal extract that is grown in Kenya and extracted using a special process developed by a university in New Zealand, and it is then packaged up and bottled here in New Zealand and sold as an anti-arthritic. This bottle, a month's supply, is $35. Now, it just so happens that the Nobel Prize for Medicine last year was awarded to a professor for her wonderful research into the health benefits of Artemisia annua, and in particular the use of Artemisia annua for the treatment of drug-resistant malaria. Malaria kills at least 1 million people worldwide, and we're almost at the point where there is no effective drug against malaria. Meanwhile, malaria is spreading with global warming. If you were the executive of a pharmaceutical company, your lifeblood is basically the next patent medicine. Coming up with a patent medicine for malaria is going to be an absolute billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar goldmine. It is very likely that the next anti-malarial drug, wonder drug, is going to be something that is derived from or synthesized from the molecules, the active ingredients found in Artemisia annua. And there is no doubt that the rush is on right now to come up with a patent medicine based on the properties of this herb. Now, if you were the executive and you were saying, okay, in the next 5 years, we're going to develop and introduce an Artemisia-based drug, you immediately know that you've got a problem. The problem is that that is sitting on the shelves of people like Gary Moller, pesky people like Gary Moller, for $35, not $20,000, $35. Got the idea? You can see you've got a problem. So, as part of your strategizing, and this is going on, this is not new stuff, you would be investing an enormous amount in getting governments to legislate against people like Gary Moller and getting these things off the shelf, or at least severely restricting its availability and even knowledge about it. Now, Australia has had legislation like this for almost 10 years, but it's not as draconian, but it's a really good example. If we look across the Tasman at what has happened in Australia over the last 10 years, we can see what is coming to New Zealand, and by the way, the rest of the world. It's just a matter of time. New Zealand is like a hothouse. If you can introduce this legislation into New Zealand, it makes it so much easier to introduce it into other countries around the world. New Zealand is such a wonderful testing ground. And so this is why I think New Zealand is always one of the places where these things are first introduced, or not too long after others. Now, let me show you this. This is from Australia. This is a monograph explaining the properties of Artemisia annua. This is for practitioners like myself. This is what is sent to me as part of the educational program, so I can understand the wonderful properties of Artemisia annua and also how to safely use it. Now, when we go through this, by the way, this is a summary of the peer-reviewed research, what has been published in reputable medical and scientific journals about the properties of this. This herb is amazing. You can grow it in just about any backyard and you can make it up as a brew. Very easy to do. Now, when we look at this, we can see that it has important properties for as an anti-cancer, as an anti-inflammatory, for conditions like systemic lupus erythematosus, SLE for short. It is an anti-arthritic, an antifungal, it is an antiviral, and it even is a anti-malarial. Right, so this is a summary of all the clinical studies. You'll see there under clinical studies, malaria, for example. And here is a summary of just some of the peer-reviewed research that has been done on this wonder herb, an amazing herb that's been around for 1,000 years. Now, I want to draw your attention to the front here. See this here? It says, not for public distribution, for practitioner use or for healthcare professionals only. Excuse me. Now this is, if I was in Australia right now and I was to hand this to you as a patient, technically I'm breaking the law. If I'm to explain the properties of Artemisia annua for your health condition, the benefits of it as a herb, I would be breaking the law. This is for my use only. This is only for me to use in discussion with other healthcare professionals. I'm not allowed to give this to you. Folks, this is coming to you very shortly. This is what the law is going to be doing, but it's going to be going a lot further. If I give you this information, if I discuss this with you with regards to your health issues, in theory, I am breaking the law. I could be a common criminal. I could be fined a massive bill, maybe even jailed. I will certainly be shut down. Now, this is what this natural health bill is all about. I will not even be allowed to give you this. However, it doesn't stop you from going onto the internet, self-diagnosing, going to some dodgy website, purchasing some dodgy products, bring them into the country, and then self-medicating, perhaps giving yourself a massive dose of contaminated, dodgy product, and who knows, you might even kill yourself, righty? But if you were to come to me and to tap into my 30 years of expertise, of practical application of these, the numerous courses which I've done through the universities and through private providers, I would be breaking the law to talk to you about the health properties of Artemisia annua, let alone give you a $35 bottle of this. No, that will be illegal. Instead, you'll be given no choice, ultimately, than to either self-medicate it with dodgy products over the internet, or else turn to a $20,000 prescription of synthetic Artemisia annua. That's what's happening. Now, this is what the Natural Health Products Bill is all about. It's about restricting your freedom of to first of all the basic knowledge about natural health products, and also taking these things off the shelf and effectively giving ownership to big business, to the pharmaceutical patent industry. Look, I don't have any problems about medicines, pharmaceuticals, and that. There's a time and a place for them. But what I do have enormous problems with is the restrictions of your right to know and restrictions of access to what are essentially foods. They're foods. That's all it is. And as the saying goes, let food be thy medicine. And this is being taken away, and the only option you will have is an expensive drug which will bankrupt you and it will bankrupt the country. That's the way it's going, folks, unless we stand up and say enough. Now, your MPs have been sucked in. They've been sucked in by very slick, very sneaky lobbying by very well-funded, very professional lobbyists. And they sure have been sucked in. If this legislation goes through, I want you to do something for me. I want you to contact your MP. Thousands of us are going to be doing this. And I want you to tell that MP that they are going to be thrown out at the next election. The election's coming up next year. We're going to see to it. There is no way in a democratic country like New Zealand that these basic freedoms can be trampled upon the way that is happening. It's not whether or not you believe that Artemisia is effective or not, righto? I don't care whether you take a vitamin or a mineral or a herbal supplement for your personal health. That's not what the issue is. It's really just the issue of retaining your freedom of choice. So let's see some action. Go and see your MP, tell your MP what you think, express your outrage, and let them know that they won't be back in Parliament if they vote for this bill. We're going to see to it. Thank you very much.